Looking at the ovarian cycle, the whole of the cycle is being controlled by the hypothalamus. Now looking at this is just a sketch of the ovary. As I have said earlier, this is the cortex, this is the medulla. Now these are the follicles, the developing follicles and then the matured follicle. Alright, so looking at the activities of the ovarian cycle, it is being regulated by the hypothalamus of the brain. Now, during the ovarian cycle, it is divided into two phases. We have the follicular phase, and we have the luteal phase. The follicular phase is also known as the pre-ovulatory phase, peri-ovulatory phase, and the luteal phase is also known as the post-ovulatory phase. All right. Now, the whole activities, when there is need of the ovary to develop follicles, the anterior pituitary gland usually is triggered by the hypothalamus. In the hypothalamus, there is this hormone we call the gonadotrophin releasing hormone, which is released by the hypothalamus, and the release of this hormone will now stimulate the activity of the anterior pituitary gland to release a hormone known as the follicle stimulating hormone. Now it is this hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone, that stimulates the growth, the formation, the growth, and the development of these follicles. Now this is the primordial follicle, while this is the primary follicle, and here we have the Graafian follicle. It is the matured follicle. Okay, so once the anterior pituitary gland release follicle stimulating hormone, the work of this hormone is to stimulate the follicles to form, to develop, and to mature. And through the process of this formation, the development, and then moving the follicle to get into maturity, the follicles also release hormones, because in the center of this matured follicle, we can see an oocyte inside, that is a matured egg, okay, which we also call an ovum. So looking at it, follicle also function in releasing its own hormone, that is estrogen, the estrogen and progesterone. So these are the ovarian hormones that they are secreted by the follicles of the ovary. Inside of these follicles, we have hormone forming cells known as the Teca cells. Inside here we have the Teca cells, and we also have supporting cells. All right, so it is the Teca cells now that are responsible for producing estrogen and progesterone. Okay, now the production of these hormones, they are in pulsatile motion, okay, just like in a drop, they begin to drop in a pulsatile way. All right, and once the level of estrogen has reached its peak, a message will be sent to the hypothalamus that the level of estrogen is high. So the hypothalamus will now stop stimulating the anterior pituitary gland from releasing the follicle stimulating hormone. And as a result of that, once the estrogen level, the follicle stimulating hormone has dropped, there is going to be also a drop in these hormones. So that drop of this particular the ovarian hormones will lead to the process of ovulation. All right, this is now the process of ovulation. So the matured egg will now be delivered, or it will now ovulate in order to be caught up by the fallopian tube. Okay, and then once this level of the follicle stimulating hormone has dropped, there is going to be initiation of the production of luteinizing hormone. That is another hormone from the anterior pituitary gland, luteinizing hormone. So the luteinizing hormone control the activities of the post-ovulatory phase. Okay, this from here to this place, it is the luteinizing hormone that control the activities here. Now let's look at it. The matured follicle has already ovulated. It has given birth to the matured egg. All right, so this ruptured follicle now will now become filled up with blood. You can see it here. Okay, it will become filled up with blood, and it will now become the corpus hemorrhagicum. Okay, it is filled up with blood, and later, as the process continues, the blood inside of this corpus hemorrhagicum will become clot. It will clot, and then the corpus hemorrhagicum will now become filled up with yellowish substance known as the corpus luteum. So the corpus luteum produces progesterone in higher amounts. Okay, it produces progesterone in order to maintain the activities of the endometrium, to thicken the endometrium. So if fertilization occurs, the corpus luteum continue to produce progesterone in order to maintain pregnancy until placenta is formed, and then the placenta will now take up the function of the corpus luteum, that is the production of the progesterone. Okay, now when fertilization not occur, the corpus luteum degenerates and it becomes the corpus albicans. All right, this corpus albicans also undergoes degeneration. It will undergo atresia and then become atretic follicles, and that's how it will degenerate. It will get absorbed by the body. So this is the phases. We have the follicular phase and we have the luteal phase. In the follicular phase, it's only related to the formation of the follicles, the growth and the maturity of the follicle, while the luteal phase is related to the formation of the corpus luteum, the corpus hemorrhagicum, and the corpus albicans. That is after ovulation. There are two important things I want us to look at in the follicular phase. Now, there is production of estrogen at the follicular phase, and the function of this estrogen is to thicken the endometrium of the uterus. Okay, they will also have production of progesterone. Now, this estrogen is in high amount, while the progesterone is in a decreased level, not as much as that of estrogen. That is in the follicular phase. While in the luteal phase, we have increased progesterone, that is higher level of progesterone, and we have less amount of estrogen. Okay, the function of these two hormones here is to help or thicken the endometrium. The progesterone also further thicken it and then provide the necessary blood supply to the endometrium in order to maintain or prepare the endometrium for pregnancy, and also to maintain the pregnancy. So this is what happened in the ovarian cycle. Now looking at the menstrual cycle, which is a series of events that occur in the life of every woman, we said it takes place in a number of 28 days. That is the normal cycle. Okay, now in the menstrual cycle, it is divided into proliferative phase. We have the menstrual phase, the secretory phase, and we have the menstrual phase. The proliferative phase of the menstrual cycle, it's just similar to the follicular phase because it takes place at the same time when the follicles are forming. So this word proliferative means multiplication. The follicles multiply, they form, they grow, and then they develop. So this is what happened in the proliferative phase, and it occurs at the same time in the ovarian cycle with the follicular phase. Then after ovulation, the secretory phase of the menstrual cycle commences, and it occurs at the same time with the luteal phase of the ovarian cycle. So in the secretory phase, we said these glands, the glands here, they begin to secrete substances, okay, like the yellowish secretion that comes out from the woman's vagina, all right, which is taken care of by the corpus luteum. So the secretory phase takes place at the same time with the luteal phase. Then immediately after the secretory phase is completed, the hormones, once the hormonal level of progesterone drops, once it drops, then the menstrual cycle will commence. So we have the pre-ovulatory phase here, we have ovulation, then we have secretory phase, and then we have the menstrual phase. Okay, let's look at the hormonal changes that influence the menstrual cycle. Okay, looking at the ovarian cycle, we said once the level of estrogen has reached its peak, a message is sent to the hypothalamus, okay, and then the level of the follicle stimulating hormone will drop. So once the level of this follicle stimulating hormone has dropped, we know there is not going to be continual production of the estrogen because the follicles will not continue to produce the estrogen. So that will now lead to the ovulation, and then we now have the luteinizing hormone taking charge, and we have an increase in production of progesterone. So in the progesterone, once the level has reached its peak, a message also is sent to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus will now decrease the release of the luteinizing hormone. So once the luteinizing hormone that regulates the activity of these follicles here, the corpus luteum, all right, once it drops, then definitely the production of progesterone will also decrease. It will go down. Now the drop in the level of progesterone will now lead to the menstrual cycle. It will lead to the bleeding. Remember, I told us initially that the progesterone helps in thickening the endometrium. It multiplies and then supply the endometrium, preparing it for fertilization. So once the fertilization has not occurred, the level of this progesterone will drop, and that is now what will lead to the endometrium shedding away, because the progesterone that now helps in thickening it and maintaining it and nourishing it for fertilization, the level is now dropped. So definitely the endometrium of the uterus will now shed away in the process of menstruation. So this is what happened. This is what happened in the ovarian cycle and also in the menstrual cycle. So this is just a bit about the ovarian cycle and a little about the menstrual cycle. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.